Okay. No.
Wait a second. Yeah, I'm reconnecting. It should get better.
Okay. Let's start. And we're live. We're live on YouTube, that I can definitely see, and what's happening on Facebook. We're live on Facebook as well. Perfect. We don't hear you now. Pavel? Pavel, are you with us? Well, hi everybody. Pavel, are you with us?
I hope so. Can you hear me?
At least I can hear you. Okay, that's much better. I didn't hear you for a moment.
Okay.
Hi everyone. That's iBookBinding with another live stream. We are going to discuss some interesting things today, well, as usual, obviously. Pavel has done quite a lot of research to talk about some Greek poetry and about some of the most expensive books in our world, at least probably in the Western world. We'll see how it goes. I also prepared some stuff, and I will dive into popular media and how the book is represented as an object in popular media. So we'll see how it goes. Pavel, please start talking about something. I will check that everything works properly, and we will be able to continue after that.
Can I start sharing my screen and showing the news?
You want to do it this way?
Yeah.
I thought we will start with some bookish objects. I just need a minute to check that everything is okay.
Okay, so our current podcast, this live stream is going to be based around current news. So a few news came our way in recent weeks. Those of you who don't follow our channel on Discord should totally do that, because all of this and many more news have been published there. Suddenly, in recent weeks, many
and I should add that you can find a link to our Discord channel down below in the description, both on Facebook and on YouTube, because we are streaming on both platforms for your convenience, obviously.
You can also find it on Patreon, unsurprisingly, which you should totally join if you can. Pledges start at just £1, $1, or €1, depending on where you live. You see, I remembered.
Perfect. So now you are doing this stuff.
All the nations go not towards our drinking addictions, but towards editing of the videos. It's an expensive and long process, and Stepan can no longer do it all by himself as he used to do when we just started. So please help us if you can, and also do ask questions. I just watched a couple of popular live streams, and it's so much more fun when people ask questions and we answer. So please do that.
Yeah, absolutely. We are ready to answer some of your questions, and if you will send us a tricky question that we cannot ask right away, we will try to find a perfect person to answer this question, and we will answer it next time, or we'll find a way to bring the reply to you. So,
while preparing for this stream, I suddenly realized that I'm working at a place where there are scientists in all the fields you could possibly imagine. So I can ask actual philologists, historians, book historians at my school. So I'll do my best to answer all the questions I don't know answers to.
Okay, Perfect. And we already have some guests from Vietnam, as far as I see. So that's nice. So we wanted to start with some of the bookish objects from my collection, some recent acquisitions. As some of you probably know, I like to search book markets for different strange bookish things. Firstly, I search for books about books. That's the primary goal for me, and books about books are the main part of my book collection. But sometimes I see some other objects that intrigue me or make me happy, and well, I try to buy them if they are within a budget. We discussed being on budget with one of our guests, with Jordan J. Tanner, a book conservator from United States. This episode of our podcast isn't published yet, but it will be published pretty soon. I hope it's one of the next episodes. And he discussed with us how he bought some pretty expensive book, and they had to, discuss that with his wife. And well, I prefer not to discuss things like that with my wife and stay within a reasonable budget.
So you can't relate.
Well, I can relate, but I prefer to avoid, this type of confrontation. So there is something I found recently on. There is this guild of sorts, or guild of printers in Belgium and in the Netherlands, Drukwerk en Marge, and they have a website where there is a bulletin board, and people often post things for sale, equipment, including bookbinding equipment, and also sometimes, maybe oftentimes, there are some books, and sometimes pretty interesting books. So this is what I found. And
what size is it? Is it like the original of floppy disks? I know that before the 3-inch diskettes, there were 5 inches, and still there were
8 inches. 8 inches.
Yeah. I've seen a disc like that, but I've never used one.
So it is not to size. It's a bit larger than an 8-inch floppy disk. But yeah, we should say first that this represents a floppy disk. Something some people may not know or may not have seen. There is a joke among the people of 3D printing community when a person brings floppy disks to their child, and the child is like, "Oh, you 3D printed a save button from I don't know, from the app, from the word processor or something like that." So yeah, this is how data was stored some 30 years ago or something like that, a bit earlier as well. And as Pavel said, they were 8-inch floppy disks and 5-inch floppy disks. They looked pretty similar to this one, and then they made 3.5 or 3.25, well, 3-inch floppy disks that were even smaller but held more data. And I remember the larger ones, 8-inch floppy disks, and I remember I used them a lot. So the 5-inch floppy disks, and this is a bit larger. It's something like 28 centimeters on each side. But what makes me so happy are the small details. First, this part that should cover the cutout that allows you to record or not to record on the write protection for the disk. And well, this disk is write protected over here. Then this sticker, it's a real sticker that was used on floppy disk, so it's not printed. And you can probably see that it goes away partially, and it's I'm not sure if it's handwritten on the sticker, but anyway. And then it's inside there is a book about graphic design and I think about graphic design. So yeah. Open Rai Gazette. Yeah, I'll try to show you some stuff from here because there are some illustrations here. I saw something. Yeah, some digital technologies. I don't know, projecting from floppy disks or something. And, well, yeah. I love objects like this one, and I always try to buy them. Well, if budget allows, once again. I'll put it inside later because the outer part, the box, the floppy disk part is a bit fragile. So I'll do it later when I'm not involved in a stream. So that's what I wanted to share with you. And if you saw anything like that, please share with us. We will be glad to share some photos on Facebook or on Instagram. And I just never seen a book that resembles a floppy disk like that before. So when I saw it, I was giggling.
And it's such a good reproduction. When you sent me a photo, I was pretty sure you bought an actual floppy disk, and I was wondering
why. Why? Yeah. Well, until recent years, when you filed tax reports in Russia, you had to bring them on 3-inch floppy drives, even while. So I know some organizations that had to specifically buy floppy disks and disk drives for that because there was no other opportunity to upload or bring. Yeah,
I have very vivid memories of that. When you filed your report for a scientific grant,
yeah.
well into 2010s, you had to you have to file an actual floppy disk. And I remember buying a USB drive for floppy disks.
Which is, yeah, a bit strange. And there's another bookish object I wanted to share with you, something that I've seen, I think, on Arthur Green, a bookbinder from the UK, from Green's Books, shared this a few days ago, and it's a set of stamps from Ethiopia, dedicated to Ethiopian manuscripts. And I'll try to. Will it focus? No. Yes. No. Yeah. Yeah. So it's quite a beautiful set of stamps, and well.
Is it a modern set?
I think it's 1984 or something like that. So no, not a modern set of stamps. And so I saw it on Facebook. Arthur shared some photos, and I think he planned to post these stamps for sale in his shop, in his web shop. So if you are interested, you can go there and find them there in the shop. I decided not to order them there. I found another set on eBay and bought it right away because I have a small collection of stamps dedicated to book arts and book history, and probably this is another subject we share with you, we cover in one of our future streams, because there are some beautiful stamps and some recent stamps. For example, there was a stamp dedicated to bookbinding, the art of bookbinding in France, that was released last year or 2 years ago, pretty recently. They have this series, I think, a series dedicated to métier d'art. Masters of crafts, arts and crafts, and there are stamps dedicated to pottery and to bookbinding and some other crafts and arts as well. But of course, I bought a stamp right away. I would have liked to go to official release of this stamp, because there was this whole event. The stamps were signed by the person who draw it or something like that, and who draw the image. But I think it was last year because I couldn't go, and no, I don't think, no, it couldn't have been last year because it was a public event. Never mind, I couldn't go for some reason, and I'm rambling, so we probably should proceed. So that's it for today on the Bookish Objects. I wanted to share with you. Once again, if you have something interesting you'd like to share with us, we'd be glad to see your messages in direct messages on Facebook, or I don't know, reach out to us in the comments on YouTube, and we'll talk about some other Bookish Objects next time, because we plan to make this section of our live stream permanent. And now Pavel is going to talk about some pretty expensive books.
Yeah, so you've probably seen the book that was the reason for us talking about this. It was on preview of this stream, and it was this wonderful book, currently sold at Sotheby's with an estimate of $4 to $6 million. It's a medieval Hebrew prayer book. It's estimated to be late 13th to early 14th century, produced in Bavaria, then traveling quite a bit. And if you want to know all the details, I highly recommend to go to a dedicated Sotheby's page. They have all the research there. You can post the links, by the way. You have them all.
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that right away.
So it's called the Luzzato High Holy Mazzo. It traveled first to Italy, where it spent a few centuries, and eventually became a part of the collection of a famous Italian Jewish collector and scholar, whose surname was Luzzato, thus the name. It's a really well-made book. It's entirely written in a single hand. It's illustrated. It has some animals in it, even a few small human figures, which tells us a lot about how Europeanized Jews became in that era. The estimate may seem high, $4 to $6 million, but and in fact for a book it is. But before talking about other expensive books that were sold over the years, I would just like to compare what books are worth to what other objects are sold for nowadays. So what I did is I went to the wonderful Wikipedia page, list of most expensive books and manuscripts. I've been a part of the community editing it for a few years, but then they told me that my help was no longer needed, especially in terms of making graphs and illustrations, because who needs graphs? People want to look at books, not at numbers. But okay, so here's what the overall dynamic looks like. If you look at this graph that I just made, you can see that most of the most expensive books are around the mark of $1 to $2 million. Mm-hmm. The most expensive book ever sold for just over 40 million, just over 50 million, adjusted for modern prices. And there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books that sold over $20 million. If you combine all the sales, we'll find that there are only a few dozen books that ever sold for over $1 million. Now compare it to another graph I made that is still on Wikipedia. You can send that link too. This is the graph for the most expensive paintings. And now let's compare the baselines on the first graph, which is around 1 million,
Yeah.
and baseline for the second graph. So we don't even bother on Wikipedia recording sales for under 50 million.
Yeah.
And the most expensive painting ever sold, as everybody knows, is Da Vinci's Salvator Mundi of a few years ago, which sold for over $450 million.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's quite a difference, right? I know some may say that it's overblown, but then let's think about the more run-of-the-mill prices. So only 30 or 40 books ever sold for over 1 million, and yet every month, quite a few paintings sell for that kind of price.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is really, really strange. I know that what's the old saying, price is a measure of want. So clearly people want paintings and books not so much. But when you think about it, over 95, if not 99% of what we know about medieval painting is preserved within books.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find books where that contain hundreds of paintings. There are certainly many books that contain dozens of them. So for $1 million, you can buy dozens of medieval paintings, and you can't even buy one for that price or that quality if it is an actual painting on a panel. So compared to paintings, books, even the most expensive books, are cheap. I know I'll never own a book of that caliber, but still. And comparisons don't stop there. Recently, a video game cartridge of Super Mario 64 sold for $1.5 million. I mean, come on. They were produced in their millions. It was the top-selling game of its era. And nowadays, and in mint condition, you can sell it for over $1 million. Okay, prices are said to be overblown using illegal tactics like shield bidding, etc. But still, lots of cartridges sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars nowadays. But it gets even more absurd when we get to NFTs. For those who don't know, NFTs are non-fungible tokens, are basically JPEG files that are protected by digital methods akin to blockchains that guarantee that this particular JPEG file is unique.
But I wanted to ask you right away, can NFT be not only a JPEG, but I don't know, some other digital file form? For example, can a digital book be sold as an NFT?
That's something I was thinking about. I'm not sure. I've not found any examples, but I did find examples of videos being made into NFTs. So there must be some kind of.
But I think in that case they usually make still shots and sell them separately. So it's JPEGs or not.
Yeah.
I think there was some issue with the lead guy from Rammstein. What's his name? Till Lindemann or how. When he shot a video at Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg, and there were some agreements about this video, and later he started selling still shots from this video as NFTs for millions of dollars, euros, I don't know what, and Hermitage Museum wasn't happy about that, so they had to strike some sort of agreement, I don't know what, but well, yeah.
I mean, Hermitage Museum basically used it as
publicity stunt, yeah.
yes, because only a week later they started selling their own NFTs, and they sold NFT of Madonna Benoit for $150,000,
Yeah.
which again may seem like a lot for a JPEG file, but I know street artists from Moscow who sells his works for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And again, not his actual works, but photographs of his works. And you can see there are quite a few sales of over 1 million. I know. Again, it's a speculative market. It's very new. It only started this year. And people are testing the waters. People who don't even appreciate this art trade in it. But again, you can buy a JPEG file for millions of dollars, up to $70 million, and sales of over 1 million become more and more frequent. And yet, the most expensive book ever sold only cost $38 million.
And I think you wanted to tell a story about this book as well, or about this
Yeah,
category of books, I guess.
Yes. So let's talk about the books. If you go to the Wikipedia page and look at the first few books on the top of the list, they are all, or at least many of them, are Chinese. Certainly the most expensive one and the third most expensive one, both in the region of $30 to $40 million, are from China. And there is, again, allegations that these prices are not exactly true. It's getting more and more difficult to give bribes in China, or so I heard. So, allegedly, people started using a very simple scheme that is as old as time, as old as this whole trade. One man sells a book, say a very important man in the Communist Party, or his wife, and it is bought for an exorbitant amount of money. In both cases, these are important manuscripts, but previous sales for this kind of material was in the region of millions of dollars, not tens of millions of dollars.
Still quite a lot, but not tens of millions of dollars. Yeah, and that's something that, as far as I understand, as far as I see news reports and research made by journalists, that's something that happens quite a lot in Russia as well. So we're pretty, familiar with this. At least from the news. And once again, that's not a recommendation of what a person should do, because it's absolutely illegal. And we do not condone this type of, deals and book collecting.
Yeah, and especially for many of the books on this list, we don't even know where they are, who bought them, where they're stored, how they're used, and the likelihood is they are somewhere in storage. There is a big free port, they are called in Europe, on the border of Switzerland, Germany, and France, where I think tens of thousands of paintings, and by now hundreds, if not thousands, of rare books and manuscripts are kept. People sell them to each other without ever seeing them in person. They stay where they are. That's, for example, that's what happened to Da Vinci, the famous Da Vinci. It spent quite some time in that free port and changed a few hands, and it happens all the time. There are certain legal initiatives to ban that kind of practice, but with the market being is estimated in billions of dollars, you can see how that could be difficult. So
I'll interrupt you for a moment. Firstly, we have a comment about digital books and books in general and NFTs. Richard Minsky, a bookbinder, bookbinding teacher from United States, commented on Facebook that yes, a digital book can be NFT, and so can a real book, as he wrote. So that's. Probably we'll see some sales soon, or some expensive sales soon. Maybe there already have been some sales of that sort. And on YouTube, Kalin Daskalov, Stopan, joined us.
oh,
And
hi.
yeah, he wrote, hopefully I'll get one of my works into this list soon. So good luck. That would be nice to see a colleague selling something for this amount of money. Maybe through NFTs, by the way.
So let's go down the list a bit. Another thing that comes up a lot is that many of the expensive books are expensive not for their aesthetic value, for how they're made, but for what they are, what they contain. And the best example is a $37 million Book of Mormon, which is a printer's manuscript for one of the founders of the movement, and it was bought by the church. Library of Congress wanted it, but the church decided that they don't really want it scanned and presented to the public.
Interesting. Why?
I wonder why. Yeah. So the first real masterpiece of a book, although again, it's not valued as a book, but as a collection of writings and drawings by Leonardo da Vinci. It's a very famous one, Codex Leicester. It was bought by Bill Gates for some $30 million back then, which is $50 million now. It is probably the most expensive book ever sold, if adjusted for inflation. You can see it's one of the well-known Da Vinci manuscripts. They all look the same. They have his trademark mirror writing. He wrote with left hand from right to left, and you can sort of read it if you take a mirror to it. Although I tried doing it with reproductions, and I can't still make anything of it. So you also need to be a specialist, not just in Renaissance Italian, but in his particular handwriting. And there are lots of drawings, hundreds and hundreds of them. I've seen fragments of this book. They are regularly displayed all over the world, so at least we get to see some of it, although most of it is in Bill Gates' possession. Mm-hmm. And that's it. The next manuscript is Magna Carta. Again, not a book, a document, a very well-known document. Recently, we celebrated what was it, 300 year or 700 year or 800 year anniversary of Magna Carta. All of the copies were scanned, collected. Related charters also presented on their website. I highly recommend to see it. It's really interesting to see where all those infamous barons were, what they were doing, what the bad King John was doing. So that's fun. And one of the best copies is now in private hands, purchased by a very, very wealthy person, David Rubenstein. And now we're getting to a first actual medieval manuscript. That's a very well-known book. It's Shaban Missal, a very, very beautiful book. I couldn't find a photograph of its binding, but the binding is also original. There are videos of it also produced during the sale process. It's easily searchable. It's a really good missile. Lucky for us, it's in the British Library now. So it's scanned in its entirety, although, as usual, not much has been done about photographing the binding. If anyone knows people in the
I really
libraries,
hope we are getting our UK visas in a couple of days. Fingers crossed, because we plan to visit London for a musical. But at the same time, I hope to see. Maybe I will have a chance to see some colleagues, or maybe visit some museums. Go to British Library once again. Maybe there is some interesting exhibition at the moment, or well. I'll find what bookish things to do in London.
please go to the reading room. It's one of the best places in the world. You know, this ginormous circular room for drawings and prints. It's unforgettable. And now we're getting to the first printed book on this list. So the most expensive printed book, $17 million, 13th century, so clearly not European, yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. Again, the price may not reflect its actual value, but it's very rare. There is one partial copy in a library somewhere in Europe, I forget, but it's very rare, very impressive. But I mean, to a European, not much to look at. I mean, it's clearly a book. It says something, and it has previous owner's marks. I hate this about Chinese and Japanese collectors. They cover and have been covering their books, manuscripts, and drawing in their seals since medieval times.
Well, at least there is a lot of work for researchers, and it gives a lot to provenance and research of provenance of the book. So well.
Yeah, and there is this list of national treasures in Japan, objects that can't be moved out of the country, and they are well photographed, and you can look at them. And all paintings are covered, often in crucial places by dozens of owners' marks. I don't know how you do that. I mean, if you value something for what it is and what it looks, why would you do that? Don't do that. I know that people still do that. And I even know a collector in Moscow who collects Chinese prints, who had a seal made and adds red seals to all his prints. Okay.
Richard just shared a link to his NFT with the binding a photo of a binding he made.
Whoa.
And on Facebook, I'll share it to YouTube as well, so our viewers can see it. So it's really nice that Richard has been watching and is watching our stream, and I'll send the link to Pavel as well, so that he can see it. Thanks again, Richard, for sharing this information.
Another book from British Library, which I encourage everyone to look at, is St. Cuthbert's Gospel, an 8th century manuscript found inside the coffin of St. Cuthbert, and currently in British Library. So again, very well photographed, very well known, and also, finally, I can show you a binding. It is the oldest European binding in existence, still connected to the original book. Clearly, Celtic inspiration. You can see those spirals and floral motifs, and it looks like it was made in early 20th century. I mean, in terms of preservation, it's amazing. It's a very small thing. The saint himself carried it with him half his life. it's an important book, and it's certainly worth $16 million, unlike some of the things we discussed.
Yeah, unlike some other things on the list.
And now we get into the region where many of the most when many of the books are actual medieval manuscripts, and they're pretty well known. Again, they are all top examples of their sort. They're all in ideal condition, many of them with their original bindings, and you can find photographs of them online, quite a few of them. Rothschild Prayer Book of 16th century, Gospels of Henry the Lion. I mean, these are very, very impressive books. And also we can see this thing, which is 17th century, a printed book. And it's an American book from what I remember. Yeah, it's the very first book printed in America. And you can own it for a meager sum of $15 million.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the most expensive printed book of Western origin. Again, the price reflects only its rarity and historical significance. It's not very well made, as you can see. I would pass by it if I saw it in a book. Nothing to write home about. I mean, seriously. But it is a very important book. Again, price is a measure of want and rarity. And then we get.
I wanted to read a couple of comments we've got from Colin on YouTube as well, because they're pretty relevant as it seems to me. So he writes, thank you for speaking about these topics. All jokes aside, I'm very interested in these things. It's a shame most of these books are not contemporary. It can be due to the slow pace of innovation and the fear of going on overboard in terms of decoration. A contemporary piece of watchmaking or jewelry, steel craft, both of them, doesn't have this issue. Well, yeah. And once again, we talked about pieces of art which cost much more, maybe because they are more accessible to a wider audience, maybe because the market of high-profile sales of this type of art exists for a longer time. I don't know why. Maybe we need to find some guests from I don't know, auction sizes or auction houses or something like that, or some experts on selling and appraising books, and talk to them about this in one of our future podcasts. We had some ideas of whom to invite, so that thing has been in our minds for quite some time. So we'll see how it goes.
Is the NFT binding?
Yeah, as far as I understand, that's the one, because
wow, that's impressive and very brutal.
And as far as I remember, when Richard shared the photos some time ago, he wrote that he used I think I'm not sure about what type of paint he used, acrylic paint or something, but he also used some real blood to mark the bindings, and when time passed, it became quite obvious which spots are blood and which are paint, because blood became darker pretty soon.
And to me, this book reminds a very famous book from Germany that has slashes in its binding from what is probably the sword that killed the saint, who tried to defend himself with this book.
Which also reminds me of our talk with Kathy Abbott, who discussed her binding, where she has had to slash the cover of the book, and she describes her experience with that process. And well, I urge all of you to go and check this video on our YouTube channel. It's one of the talks with Kathy Abbott, and just her description of this moment of fear when you need to make this fast cut is I don't know. You have to see it.
And one of the few books that is present on this list in several copies, because generally, if there are more than one in existence, they don't cost that much. But one book that does, and every time it comes to auction, it fetches enormous prices, because every library, every collector dreams of owning one, is The Birds of America by Audubon. I'll show you a video of a page turning of this book, because it's difficult to describe the size of it. You have to see it. Here it is.
And I'll share some links to our stream pages as well.
And this is something that I've seen myself in another library, and many of you probably saw this too, because it's become somewhat of a trope to do that. It is an enormous book. There is a purpose to that. Where is my list? Yeah, here it is. The idea behind this book was to record every bird, every native bird of America, and to record them in their actual size. And when you have a flamingo like this one, you need a big book, and even then you have to bend it, bend the birds in half. Yeah. It's a very impressive and very expensive book, even at the time when it was published. It was published in a few hundred exemplars, and by now less than 100, I think, survive.
Intact. I think some of the copies are separated in sheets. So
since the early 20th century, it was often separated in sheets and sold separately, because you could get more money that way. This is also why so few I forget the name, graduals from Italy survive, which are musical manuscripts with wonderful initials. In early 20th century, and even now, it's often much more profitable to cut out individual initials and sell them as decorative items.
This is something I really hate about some of the book sales, because there are some sellers who, for example, cut away book plates from some of the books and sell them separately. And I understand that this may be more profitable in some cases, but then you go to a book market and you find some book and it's without a book plate, because it was separated before and sold for additional money, and well, that's awful. It's just awful.
It's considered very bad taste to do that nowadays to medieval books, but still pretty normal for printed books of 18th and 19th century.
Yeah. We have a couple of more comments. Firstly, from Colin on YouTube. As for NFTs, people are currently backing everything and their grandmother in NFT. And well, this definitely seems like that. I've seen anything from gold bullion to wine and watches. I'm not sure if a book needs to be backed, but part of the concept may be another way to go. So I guess you're making a binding and then you're adding NFT as a part of it, or selling them separately or together, or I don't know what. At least for my next work, I'll include in NFTs, but part of the package, not a digital representation itself. Well, as you can see, Colin plans to sell them together or give them away together. And then Mark Ockram joined our stream, yeah, he wrote, hi Mark. The National Art Library at Victoria and Albert is well worth a visit when in London. Well, I'll keep that in mind, and we'll see how it goes. But first, we need to get our visas. British visa process is one of the most unpleasant in the Western world. There are three most unpleasant countries. At least if we are talking about visa process, and they are United Kingdom, Canada, and United States.
And I just thought of another place, a gallery you should visit when in London. It's about this size.
Well, we'll see. Maybe Mark will tell us if there is any exhibition at the moment in this small base art place, and then something. Yeah. Okay. Pavel, return to you.
Yeah. So there are at least 3 copies of Birds of America on the list, all around the mark of $10 million. So they do come up every now and then. Here's another wonderful plate. Yeah. There are a few Shakespeares. There's a first folio for a similar price, and another first folio for a somewhat smaller price, and then we get more of a and another copy of Birds of America for $7 million. Yeah, and there are a few curiosities that are again more of a historical value, like an autograph manuscript by Mahler. Again, $6 million. Is it a manuscript? Yes, it is. Is the book? No, it's not. One of my favorite bestiaries. Again, you can find it fully scanned online. It's a really weird one.
I think, by the way, I think we need to do a live stream dedicated to illustrations and the elimination of medieval manuscripts. I have in my collection, I don't know, scores of books dedicated to this subject, and I try to buy them every time I see them for a fair price. But that's a pretty entertaining topic, and something something nice to look at.
And I spent a few years on Wikipedia cataloging images of medieval manuscripts, so I could give a few examples too. And then we find the most expensive Muslim manuscript, a wonderful Quran. It is somewhat frowned upon to sell Qurans publicly in the Muslim world, so most of the sales go privately, and we don't know the prices for them. And I should say that all the prices I name and all the books are named are only in public sales. We don't know the values that exchange hands privately.
And I think that can be a nice moment to say a couple of words about a topic you wanted to discuss, I guess, in one of the future live streams, to talk about the first printed Quran or something like that. You had some thoughts on that. Yeah, am I right?
Yeah. So I recently found out that the earliest Quran printed by Muslims was printed in Russia. And if I'd have to guess when it was, I'd say, I don't know, 17th century, 16th century. I mean, not much later than European printing, but actually it's early 19th century.
And that's it for the teaser.
Yeah.
Move on. Next time.
I can only recommend. there are lots and lots more. There are some maps, there are some documents. So please go to this page. I spent tens of hours editing it and tens of hours more arguing about what to include and what not to. So
I think there
go to
is.
this page and read it for yourself.
Would you do anything about your battery time or?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, and I need to switch the view. I should add that I think on that list there is another modern book, the Manuscript by J.K. Rowling, that was sold for some 3 or 4 millions or something like that. Am I right, or it isn't on this list? I think
it must have been very recently because I've missed it.
Yeah, I think it was sold for something like 3.7 million something dollars, pounds.
Yeah.
And
$4 million, but it's not.
It was a charity event as far as I remember.
It wasn't. It also wasn't any of the original manuscripts for Harry Potter. It was
Bard the Beedle book.
Yeah, Tales of Bard the Beedle.
Yeah, and that's something I also wanted to mention, discuss, return to, because you mentioned this. That not all of these prices are real. In a way that they represent anything. They can be they can be the prices that were paid at some distinctive moment for some specific reason, but this doesn't mean that this book will sell for the same price next time, and I don't mean that it becomes more expensive. It can lose in its value quite a lot. So this is a really interesting matter, and we will probably return to it in the future. But I guess for now that's it with the most expensive books. We have some other topics to discuss. Once again, if you have any questions or comments, we'd be glad to see them. Once again, please check our Patreon account and join the crowd. So we had some new members of the community recently, and we're very happy about that, because currently the amount of pledges we receive allows us to cover editing of the main longer podcast, iBookBinding's podcast, but they doesn't cover editing of our bookish talks. They don't cover editing of French and Spanish versions, which are not finished yet because there were some issues with translation and of the subtitles. But I really hope to publish the first Spanish episode probably next week. We'll see how it goes if I have time. Join the crowd. And in any case, we share all our videos there, so it's a good way to follow the what's happening. And Richard is asking for Patreon links, so Pavel will talk for a moment, and I will add the link to the comments section. Pavel?
So that I can have a breath, Stepan will talk next, and he'll talk about books in popular art. He's been following this topic for quite a while, and especially books in TV series, right?
Yeah. So I should switch to this one, and I will share the screen with Pavel so that he will be able to follow us along. And just please give me a moment, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Pavel, do you see that?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. And everybody else should see the picture, and us as well. And this is Tyrion from the TV representation of the Game of Thrones book series. And by the way, what I wanted to say, that firstly, I watched Shang-Chi, the new Marvel movie, quite recently, and there are some books there I wanted to discuss. So when it goes to streaming, I will grab a copy and make some screenshots, and we'll probably talk about it. And the other thing, yesterday I went to watch the new Dune movie. And I know that our viewers in the United States will not be able to see it for 5 more weeks or something like that. But once again, there is a lot of material for us, material there for us to discuss. There are some interesting bookish objects there. So if you are interested in that topic, definitely go and watch Dune, and you will find some nice fine pieces of bookish stuff there, and I hope you will be happy. But yeah, today we wanted to discuss Game of Thrones, and well, in the first image, I think it was the first book that appeared in the series in the first season of the series, and well, who is holding the book? Of course, it's Tyrion. I guess one of the most bookish persons in this universe, at least outside the. I don't remember how the city was called. Well, all the maesters were living, but never mind. And what can I say? I wasn't happy when I saw this book because it falls apart. Yeah, let me see if I can switch. Yeah, here is a close-up, and it really falls apart, and that's something that you definitely can see the difference between the first season and the other seasons of the show, because they obviously got much more money to put in production. Including bookish props after the first season got all the attention it received. So yeah, but so there are several types of bookish objects in the series, and let me open something. I have a sort of a reminder of sorts, not to forget what I wanted to say. That there are several types of bookish objects in the series. There are obviously some books. There are scrolls and different types of scrolls, because there are larger scrolls used for, I don't know, proclamations, or that are sent as a post or something like that. And then there were smaller scrolls that were sent with ravens. And this is something that reminded me some of our previous discussions during the live streams, because they really look in their folded form. They really look like birch bark manuscripts, and this is, I think, it's a good illustration of why these birch bark manuscripts were found in the form they were found in. Rolled tightly together, and why it is so hard to open them up and read them. But well, it's a small object. You roll it because it's probably preserved better this way, and it's easier to hold it, and it's easier to hold many of them in this way. Next, besides the books, there are all sorts of maps. And I need to switch to a different share. Just a moment. Sorry about that. Just nope. Sorry, technical issues.
Do you think it's a paper book? I don't think it's actually. It's even a real bind.
I think it's a paper book. Yeah, but it's sort of gathered together. Well, not really well. Just a moment.
Am I right in thinking that this was a project that you started on Facebook and other people contributed to it, or is it fully your research? It was a few years ago, I forget.
Yeah, I had some help from Eliana Gomez, from bookbinder and book restorer from the Netherlands, from Haarlem, and we had some spent some joint time in discussing and researching some of the books and bindings. You can see there, but what just happened? Sorry about that. It's not easy to switch between all these windows. Yeah, much better.
We are getting more and more ambitious with our setup, and it's
we need a third person who will switch between the stuff. We need an editor or something like that. And well, I was listing the types of objects. So there are books, there are scrolls of different types, and there are maps. And maps are usually made either on large sheets of paper. Or hides, which is fun. I think it's really fun to see them. But well, here's a next set of pictures, and I lost everything. Just a moment. Yeah. The next set of pictures, and here is a letter that was sent from the Erie. I think it's called the Erie in English. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, and you can even see the sigil over there on the. It's not wax, but how it's called in English. I remember Surguch, but it's Russian. I forgot the word absolutely. But yeah, anyway, so this is this small type of scrolls that were sent with ravens, and it really reminds me of the Birch Park manuscripts. But yeah, there are other letters as well. But you can see lots and lots of these smaller scrolls. As far as I remember, all of them were made on paper. I don't know, printed or handwritten. Anyway, but. Yeah, a lot of messages sent with ravens there. And Pavel, if you will talk for a moment, I will switch to the next.
I was looking what you meant by surgutions. It's also wax, and so it is wax, but so it is it's sealing wax. It's a mix of different natural materials, but mostly wax.
Okay. So, next one.
Is it also from the first season?
Yeah. It's other people do not see it yet, so it's early to comment on that. But
do you think all these books and book-related materials help to place it in historical context?
Absolutely not. Yeah, and that's something I wanted to mention as well.
Because when I look at what you've shown so far, I'm thinking of all those people pretending to be medieval. It looks made in a hurry. It doesn't look real. It doesn't work.
Do you see a set of 3 books at the moment, Pavel?
Not really.
Not really. What do you see? I need to share something else.
I see a knight holding a
Okay,
now I do.
And by the way, we have somebody drilling on the next floor. Do you hear that or?
No. It's okay. You have a good. Yeah, you have a good mic.
Okay, perfect. So here are some books that I wanted to show you. There will be more of them, and these are the books that were gifted to Daenerys during her wedding, and they supposedly hold some of the stories about the history of Westeros, and well.
What are those supposed to be?
That's a mishmash of styles, and I don't even I'm not even sure how the bottom book opens up, because it seems that it's a step binding that was made on 4, or on 4 threads or something like that, and the top books, well, they have some latches or something, so it's just a prop, but I wanted to show this to you because these books appear later in a different setting, in the same season, in the same show, in a different setting. But anyway, more books, some ledger from that Littlefinger used, and the book that in the end made Ned Stark to lose his head, and here it is presented to him by Maester, and well, the lineage and histories of the great houses of the 7 kingdoms. I think that's the same stuff that's written on the leather cover, or supposedly leather cover. But as you can see, once again, it's just as 2-post binding, made pretty fast and cheap, and without any real book craft and book art, I guess.
And also the font.
Yeah,
it's something you write a name of your hippie shop in.
yeah. And what's interesting, you can definitely see that probably the first page was printed and then just strapped to this book, because all the other pages of the book are supposedly old, and you can see all the cracks and damage. But the first page, well, maybe they replace it every year, just to it's easy to replace the title page, but not everything else. Yeah, once again, Littlefinger, you can see that he also has this. I think it's called metal post binding or something like that in English, or screw post binding. Yeah, where you have screws that hold pages together. In some restaurants, menus are made this way, and well, it's a reasonable, nice way to make a book that where you need to add and remove pages pretty fast, like menu pages. But for a larger book, it's pretty useless, I guess. Not reasonable.
And again, it doesn't help to place it either in time or in place.
Yeah.
Where
yeah,
was
absolutely.
this supposed to be made?
That's something we discussed with Eliana Gomez a bit later, when we talked about later seasons of the Game of Thrones, and there is really a mishmash of all the styles and books. They just thrown in together everything they found, and there are books representing styles of our Earth 19th century. There are limb bindings, there are sort of medieval books, there are books that are almost looking like Coptic bindings or something like that, or Ethiopian bindings. So just a mix of everything, and not that all these different books represent different eras of Westeros. They were just they could have made and produced and written at the same age. It's just a mix that pro parties decided to bring to the stage. Well, okay. Yeah, like I said just a moment ago, I think it's Nightwatch, Jorah Mormont, and his study at the Castle Black, and here he has some pretty modern binding on the Closer to Us, and then there is a sort of medieval looking binding with protective steps, or how it's called in English. I forget.
Knobs.
Knobs, yeah. So complete mix of everything, and it's fun. Well, it's fun, but when you are trying to look, and here are some limb bindings. You can see. I forgot the name of this Stark, but anyway. And I need to switch once again. That was a bad idea to switch. I guess I need to make slides with titles between so that I can stop at the right place. But
And again, he's holding something like an office prop, I'd say.
it was a ledger, yeah.
Mm.
In this situation, it was a ledger. So and he brings it everywhere with him, because you will see some a bit more graphic scenes later. So where he works with the same ledger, because he brings it everywhere. And yeah, just a moment, I'll share. Now I want to talk about some maps, because they are quite beautiful. Even in the first season, maps were quite beautiful. Yeah, here we are. And it's Meister Aemond, as far as I remember his name, and Bran Stark. Bran Stark? Yeah, I guess so. Okay.
You're supposed to.
I suppose to know.
Fanboy.
But
Don't
yeah,
ask me.
here is one of the maps, and well, obviously you can see that it is made on at least on something that should represent or resemble a hide. I don't know, deer hide or something like that. And well, here is another view. And I don't think they made a paper replica or something like that. I think they really used a hide, because if you look at the edges, it really seems like it was a real hide that was painted. And I guess this is one of the most favorites parts of this topic for me, or representation of sort of bookish objects in the series. And there are lots of different notes as well there. And so Lannisters at war, and also some maps. But here you can see their paper, cardboard maps, something like that, not on hides. And
this is actually an interesting question, because nobody really knows how they planned their wars, and if they used maps, and if they did, if it was any use.
Mhm.
So that's an interesting idea. We don't even know that about Romans, who wrote everything about themselves, but failed to mention that. So that's an interesting scene, medieval scene using maps for practical purposes. That's something that we do not know happened.
Yeah, interesting. That's truly interesting. Probably the same map or the other map, but it's some discussion of the war in the northern parts of Westeros, and they are planning something. And I need to switch once again, and every time I do it faster and faster. So yeah, there is some hope for me. Just a moment, I'll switch for Pavel first, and then for everybody else. Here we are. Yeah, as I told you. Well, there are some graphic scenes in Game of Thrones. I had to blur it out because YouTube would, ban us, I guess, if we showed it as it was. There were two ladies doing their job, I guess, in this case, while Littlefinger was writing in the same ledger. And you can see, even here, you can see the bulk of the book that is there. And it's I think when it's so thick, and if it's made on screw posts, it becomes really unruly and hard to use. And well, the curve of the turned pages just wouldn't allow you to work with it really. So that's not the best solution for a ledger like that. But anyway, that's what they had. I think in the further seasons, in the next seasons, he had a different ledger, but I'm not sure. I need to check the photos I have for that. And yeah, another scene. They have books pretty everywhere. At least the rich people of Westeros have books pretty everywhere. So here is some, another scene, and there are some nice bindings with raised bands over there. It's really hard to distinguish what these bindings were, but
I think how they're kept is also interesting. It's rather anachronistic for Middle Ages to imagine people having bookshelves.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess you're right. And next one. I think I'm almost switching perfectly now. That's an image I showed before, because Maester Raymond has a scroll here. He just received a message with a raven. But something else I wanted to show you is what's happening in the background. There is some guy working with some stuff, and my guess is that this stuff is leather hides.
Yeah.
I guess he is preparing material for maps or something. So I was quite glad to see the craft represented in this series, and that's something that was really nice in the series. They had all these smaller details dedicated to all the different processes, and well, there is a lot of critique to say about the series and about later seasons and about anything else, but I liked it to watch it quite a lot, because the immersion was quite good. And I think I have the final part I want to show you. Let me check. Yeah, the final part. I told you earlier about these 3 books that were gifted to Daenerys Targaryen, and these books appeared later in some other place in the series. And well, that's when prop department decided just to save some money. So yeah, that's the same scene. This is the young Mormon. Jorah Mormon is a young Mormon, and the father is. Once again, forget his name, but never mind. He gave these books as a gift. You can see they are that's a mishmash of paper and stuff stacked together, and sort of sewn or stitched, or I don't know, aligned. But then the same books, here they are. The same books appear in Tyrion's tent at his war effort on a different continent, in a absolutely different place. Here they are. They are absolutely the same books. I guess almost nobody would notice that, but I was spending time looking for each instance a bookish object appears on the screen, so I found it. I was pretty giggly when I found it. And 2 books in the bottom are also some sort of you can see rings there on the bottom book. So I guess there is sort of spine on the left, but rings in the front and or in the bottom. So how it was stitched together, we don't really know, and we don't see these books later. But anyway, it was a fun project. It was fun time working with Eliane during this project. And just a moment, I will switch back to our large heads so that we can talk without any additional distractions. And yeah, it was a fun project. I spent some more time looking for books in next seasons, and there were some interesting news related to this stuff. For example, at some moments. Uh, just a moment. I need to switch everything off. Yeah. At some moment, Sophie Turner, who played Sansa Stark, confessed that she took one of the scrolls from the set as a memento. So there were even news stories related to Bookish Objects from the series, and of course later some people discussed how the books how the chained books were represented in the libraries, because in the series they appear a couple of times. First time in the library of the Castle Black, and then in the library of this in the Maester's library. Once again, I forget the name of the city where it happens, but the books, the chained books there are stored vertically, and a lot of people started to discuss whether it's a correct representation, which is not correct representation. And well, there were some other issues with that as well, but anyway, it was fun to see, and I guess we will return to the Game of Thrones in one of our future streams, because there are more nice objects to show you, and as I said before, in the next seasons they spent much more money and effort on making Bookish Objects look nice and not falling apart. Especially, well, if you see some rich person like Littlefinger or Tyrion, and they have these books that are falling apart, well, it may be an ancient book and they're reading some ancient stories and they just don't care because they can buy another one or something like that, another ancient copy. But still, I guess in Tyrion's character would be to find a bookbinder who would repair or rebind the book or something like that, or make it better, because he was a really bookish person. He was one of us.
I have to say, I forgot just how much worse the first season was than the following ones in visual terms, because they spent so much attention on every detail in the third, fourth, fifth seasons. And here you look at it and they clearly didn't spend any time on it.
Well, yeah. Some of these books are definitely made by the prop department, so they are just quickly stitched together. Some of the books, I guess, they visited some book markets and bought just the stuff that is cheap. For example, you can find really cheap limb bindings, and well, they appear in the series in the first season. I'm not sure about this medieval-looking binding from Mormon's study at the Castle Black. Maybe that was some prop from a different show or something like that. Maybe it was. I don't think it was a real medieval binding bought at a book market. But anyway, once again, fun time, fun project, and there are some other things. We discussed this with Eliana, that the representation of scrolls, and moreover of how the scrolls are sealed in the series, are often absolutely wrong, because oftentimes they seal them in a way that parts of the scroll could be read, or parts of the scroll could be opened without breaking the seal, which sort of defies the purpose of sealing a scroll. But that's also probably a topic for the next time. Did we have anything else to discuss? We had some news, but I guess
we had lots to discuss, but I think we can move it to the next stream.
Okay. It was fun. Once again, 90
minutes is
the sweet spot. Yeah. So we had another comment on Facebook. Lucien Tinuvier I'm not sure about if I pronounced the name properly. I'm sorry if I botched it, but here is the comment. Hay on Wye is a very interesting place in Wales, UK. It's a bookish paradise where there are lots of bookshops that have collections of valuable books that might be interesting to you. Not as expensive as the ones on Pavel's list. So, well, thanks again. Thanks a lot for this comment. I guess I will add it to my list. Not for this trip because we will probably go only for a weekend and we'll stay in London, but we definitely plan to return to Scotland because, well, if we get visas, and we probably will get visas, we'll have them for 6 months, and we need to, to how to say it, I forget, to оправдать. Оправдать затраты.
No, I don't know.
To make the money spent on visas worth all the visits, and we're definitely going to return to the United Kingdom, to Scotland, and probably to Wales as well. And we have some other plans as well for later this autumn in other parts of United Kingdom, other parts of England. So I hope to return, and we'll see how it goes. And well, once again, as usual, many thanks to all the people who watched the stream, who stayed with us for the part of stream or for the whole of the stream. I know 1 hour and a half is quite a lot, and in some places it's really early, and I'm really surprised and happy that Richard Minsky joined us, because it's early morning in the United States, even in New York, and well, please check the links.
And my personal thanks to everyone who commented. It was so much more fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate to comment next time, and it makes us so much happier, and it makes the stream so much more fun. And once again, join the links below. We will post the links to all these stuff that all the links that we posted in chat. We will post in the description of the video. Check our Patreon, check our YouTube account if you watched on Facebook, check our Facebook account if you watched on YouTube. Join the Discord channel, Discord server, because it's a refined stream of bookish news and stuff, unlike Facebook or something. So it's much easier to see the things there. And we'll stay for a couple more moments until the stream ends. But thanks and bye until next time in 2 weeks, once again on Wednesday, but we will probably stream later in the day so that